This gaming PC was left for dead, thrown in the corner of a basement to collect dust and mold. The seller had no details on the parts, but wanted a firm $90 for the remains of a former gaming PC. From the picture, I could see it had an Asus Z170 motherboard, an EVGA 750 watt power supply, a Corsair case, and a basic tower cooler. It had no RAM or graphics card, but the seller did have an old 500 gigabyte hard drive to sweeten the deal. Seeing the Z170 motherboard gave me hope this PC had a higher end 6th or 7th gen Intel CPU. I had no idea if any of this stuff even worked, but for $90 I was willing to gamble. When I picked it up, the first thing I noticed is that the power supply had no cables with it. This was disappointing because it is a high quality EVGA G2 750 watt power supply. It's sad to see such a high end PSU like this go to waste because the previous owner misplaced the cables when they upgraded their PC. Good power supplies are not cheap, and I needed a decent budget option to test this hardware. For $55, I got this Zalman 600 watt Gigamax PSU. I chose this over other options from Apevia and Thermaltake because they had very poor reviews. The next step was to take the cooler off this processor and see if I got my money's worth. I was delighted to reveal an i7 7700K, which is the best CPU this motherboard supports. I hooked the PSU up to all the components, and to my surprise, everything worked perfectly. Even the old-ass hard drive from 2008. I ran some benchmarks and everything looked normal. Now that I knew everything worked, I was willing to invest the time into cleaning these mistreated parts. And yet again, we have another neglected PC with heavy brown dust and a lingering cigarette smell. I don't know what the correlation is between abandoned PC parts and people who smoke indoors, but it appears to be true. The CPU cooler looked like it had never been cleaned. The case took multiple cleanings to remove the smell, and the motherboard needed some fine detailing to get rid of all the grime. Now that I can handle these parts without turning my hands black, let's get the rest of this build figured out. I'm aiming for a budget of $250 or less, with hopes to sell this PC for $300 to $400. Here is what we have for parts: an Asus Z170-A motherboard, Intel i7 7700K, a Cooler Master Hyper 212 tower cooler, an old Corsair case, and a 500 gigabyte Western Digital hard drive. I still needed to find an SSD, RAM, and graphics card to finish this build. The 7700K is a 4-core, 8-thread CPU that was released in 2017. Despite being 8 years old, it is still a quite capable gaming CPU in 2025, and will pair well with a budget 1080p GPU. This Asus motherboard is of good quality and allows for 3200 MHz RAM with the ability to fine-tune the CPU. The Hyper 212 CPU cooler is adequate, but won't allow much overclocking ability since the 7700K does run quite hot. The case is a massive black Corsair gamer case from yesteryear. It's a quality case, but could be considered boring by today's standards. But I've decided to stick with this case to keep the budget down. It will be a clean, non-RGB build, which hopefully won't hurt my ability to sell this PC. And if the buyer wants a more modern look, they can leave all the panels off, which actually looks pretty cool. For RAM, I got 32 gigs of Silicon Power Turbine DDR4 at 3200 MHz. It's not the prettiest RAM, but I've used it many times and it performs well at a great value. For $50, I figured it was a cheap enough upgrade that will enhance the performance of this system. For storage, I'm installing a Samsung 980 1TB NVMe SSD. This is a fast drive that will make this system super snappy and offer enough space for most beginner PC users. I got this SSD for only $28 from the Newegg shop on TikTok a while back, which was a rare but great deal. I decided to save the 500GB spinning disk drive for another more budget-oriented build in the future. When I went to install the 980 SSD, I realized the motherboard didn't come with a screw to secure the M.2 drive. I had this screw from the broken M.2 Wi-Fi on the $15 Dell in my previous video, and it was the right size. I was still missing a standoff, but I kept the screw loosely tightened and it seemed to be okay. For the graphics card, I am going with a PNY GTX 1660 Super. I had originally planned to go with an RX 6600 that I got for $100, but then I stumbled upon a deal with this 1660 Super. I got it as part of a whole PC for $100, but I will dive into the details of that another time. Since it was part of a package, it's hard to say an exact price I paid for it, but I can value it at about $30. The 1660 Super is still a great budget 1080p card that performs very well for its price and has 6GB of VRAM, making it capable of playing most new AAA games. After finding the GPU, I got an awesome surprise from EVGA. I had sent them an email asking about the power supply cables because they were listed on their website but not available for purchase. EVGA, being the truly awesome company they are, sent me back an email saying they would send them to me for free if I registered the product. They didn't even care that I bought it used. I've heard great things about their customer service, and this seemed to back that up. I soon received a package with all the cables I requested. I was now able to test this 750-watt G2. I was very happy to see that it worked. I highly recommend getting one of these cheap PSU testers if you plan on doing any testing like this, as it could save you from damaging any expensive hardware. Since I already got the Zalman PSU for this build, I'm going to save the EVGA for a future project. With the build fully assembled, I created a listing on Marketplace and waited for the fun to begin. I had initially priced it at $400, but after a few days of low interest, I lowered it to $350. This was priced very competitively in my local market, offering newer parts than other builds in this price range. I got a few inquiries and one trade for an Xbox offer, but that was about it. After 5 days, I finally got someone who was interested. He offered $300, but I countered with $320 and he accepted. It was a perfect deal for him because he doesn't like RGB and mostly plays Farming Simulator and BeamNG. I spent a total of $250 on this build and sold it for $320, leading to a profit of $70. I also ended up with the EVGA power supply, which is worth at least $50. Not to mention a 500GB hard drive, which is probably worth a few bucks. I didn't make a huge amount on this one, but I was looking for a quick sale while offering a fair deal, and I'm happy with how it went. I hope you enjoyed this latest PC flip, and be on the lookout for more to come. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.